Let's talk about candy. I love candy. I just downed 3 Reese's Pieces before we started this operation. But you may not know what's in your candy. Let's take a look.
So, what is gonna kill you this week? Candy. That's right, candy. It is not, as it turns out, so dandy. The candy in question is nothing as mundane as, say, Skittles, although I'm sure eating tons and tons of Skittles will probably eventually kill you. No, these candies are tainted with lead, so it's kind of like a candy bullet. Stores like Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and Target are being sued by the state of California for selling ginger and plum candies that seem to have lead in them. Laboratory tests found trace amounts of lead in these candies, which goes against a California proposition requiring you to label it when there is lead in them. So it's fine as long as you label it. The California Attorney General's office has not disclosed the amount of lead that they found in these candies, which means there's probably not that much, right? So we're fine. Are we fine? We are not gonna make it.
All right, I think this story is so indicative of so many things going on in the country right now. There's lead in our candy. Really? Desi,
Oh, come on.
how much lead is in your system right now from eating ginger snaps from Trader Joe's?
Well, that's a good question, but hey, they got some ginger in their lead candy.
Ginger's
They
good.
can do better.
Ginger is good for you.
That is true. It is good for you. Lead, however, is not. It's a neurotoxin, and it's really bad, especially for kids and developing brains. So it is actually quite important that we root out all of these problems. The only problem that we have with that, though, is that our industrialized, globalized food system is not set up for inspections or enforcement or making sure that these kinds of ingredients don't make it into candy that people should not be eating.
Yeah, why is it that by labeling it, this somehow seems better? It's like mercury in tuna. A pregnant woman's not even supposed to eat any tuna because of mercury, and yet we know it, so it somehow seems a little more okay. Do you think it's okay? They put lead on there, so now it's up to you.
Oh, well, I do like the idea that if you put the notion that you put the ingredients on something that the informed American consumer will make better consumer decisions, which is probably not really true.
I like it because now I know where to get my lead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
where
if I'm
else are you
looking
getting
for,
lead?
yeah, otherwise I have to read a bunch of news reports to find out what's tainted. This way I know it's lead at Trader Joe's and I just buy it, take it home.
But do you think?
Whatever
that's the
happened to
question,
just chewing pencils? Isn't that the way you guys got lead as a kid?
Do you think people really care about what they eat, though? I mean, if there's one thing I think we know about Americans is that we really fundamentally do not give a shit about what we eat, and we will eat almost anything and be almost sort of proud of it. There's like a bizarre, perverse sort of pride in eating. Really, like people will brag about eating. Like, oh, I had a bacon cheeseburger for lunch, and then I some ring dings, and I downed it with a Coke, with cherry Coke, 77-ounce cherry Coke.
I mean, there's a restaurant called the Heart Attack Grill.
Yeah.
And people have heart attacks there.
But you guys
so
are talking about the difference between men and women on this, I think.
take
I
it
don't think
away.
there's a single mom anywhere who would say, I don't care about what my kids eat. And oh, that's great. I'm going to take my kids to the Heart Attack Grill. I think that's
kidding?
something that men do. Yeah,
Do you see the food that people buy?
I see the food that people
for their
buy.
children?
But
Have you
I
been to the
don't
Middle
think
West?
that moms would actually say, yeah, the lead is great and we don't care. I think that a lot of it has to do with education, misinformation, disinformation, and lack of availability of healthier choices and affordability of
Is
healthier
this what's
choices.
making our kids so heavy? Is they're eating all this lead?
Lead,
There's lead and there are a lot.
You don't
What's the
look fat,
calories?
but you weigh 600 pounds. I just think that there's this assumption that food is better for us now, and I don't know if that's completely well-founded. Yes, back in like the 50s, there was an uptick in processing foods and everything, but you would just go buy one of the 7 kinds of bread that there were, as opposed to the 700 kinds of bread, and just I look back on the processed cheese foods that I ate as a child, and I want to assume that now it is better and healthier, but I just don't know if it is because there's a lack of transparency in the food preparation
The Cheese
process.
Whiz people are the worst. You can't get any information out of them.
Yeah, you just ask and
It's
ask.
on hold for hours and hours.
Well, and then you have people, I think, that have a misplaced belief, a misplaced respect for what our food system, our current food system, especially the federal inspection food system, is giving them. They believe that, oh, if the FDA says it's okay, well, they must have tested it and looked at all this stuff, so it must be fine. They wouldn't offer it for sale if it wasn't okay.
Or they think the market, if they're a sort of libertarian bent, they think the market will determine, they wouldn't be selling something that's bad for us because it would be bad for their bottom line, in
I'm
theory.
eating a Target right now. I shouldn't be able to buy anything that will kill me.
Right, for whatever reason.
And that's misplaced.
Right. So in this is a perfect example of that, actually, because I view, especially Whole Foods, but also Trader Joe's, as somehow the healthier alternative to the regular supermarket. So is it that much more shocking that this stuff is going Whole Foods? It's not whole lead foods.
Yeah. You're assuming because it's Trader Joe's, but the problem with Trader Joe's is like they do some great wholesaling and some fantastic deal making with specific brands that gives like these preposterously low prices compared to your Ralph's or your Vons or Pavilions or Safeway. So
And you're saying there's something nefarious behind that,
I'm just saying it's really, really cheap. And whenever I buy something that's really, really cheap, I feel like there's something wrong with it. I'm going to buy it because I only have a certain amount of money, but I just assume that it's not that good for me. So you go to Whole Foods, and conversely, you assume that it's really, really good for you. And that is, I think, the most like these high-end retail chains for food. Whole Foods, it just implies that it's 6 steps of these cows were born on a cloud somewhere and were given ambrosia
stroked constantly and
told positive things.
We'll coax that milk right out of you.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that some of this just comes, though, with living a modern life? I mean, if you think about it, in the 50s we had asbestos in locker rooms, and that just every we thought smoking was okay and all kinds of stuff. That this is just part of it. Like now they'll look back and they go, oh yeah, they used to eat lead in 2013. Like we're never going to really get out of this because of the socioeconomic things you're talking about and just the ease of eating cheaper things that are less healthy. And all
Well, there is a way out of it. We're already trying to make those changes as, like, for example, the internet has made all of this information far more available to everybody than was ever possible before. So now that people are understanding more, they're signing petitions, they're trying to get ballot propositions for, say, labeling for genetically modified ingredients, that people are getting more information now and sort of fighting back against this influx of lobbying money that has come from the manufacturers who have made sure that the state and local and federal regulations are all in their favor. But the people are starting to fight back. So I don't think we have to settle for this and say, well, it's just the way it is. There's nothing we can do about it. Throw up our hands. I think we can actually make a difference. It's showing up already across the country as people are making a difference.
I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory here, and I don't want to. But before we get to the next segment, I just is anybody giving any thought to the idea that maybe the Chinese are intentionally putting lead in our food?
I don't think so, because they want to get their debt paid back, so they can't kill us. Is that what you're saying?
Because they can't defeat us militarily, so they can put
us
lead in our
stupid.
food,
Make us dumb.
and they can use our greatest weakness against us is our urge to snack, and we can't stop. And then it turns into an idiocracy, and they just roll over us.
Snacks of mass destruction?
Exactly. I think it's airtight.
Yeah, well, it would be silly of us not to mention the whole Taco Bell situation quickly to wrap this thing up. You guys probably saw the picture of the Taco Bell worker licking what seemed to be a gross of taco shells. It was gross, and I think it might have been a gross. And again, this is the type of stuff we put in our bodies. God only knows what's going on at all these fast food places. If you're going to pay people low wages, they're going to do crazy things. Brett?
First of all, they've got to, everyone's wanted to do that, I'm sure. Secondly, of all the stuff in my Taco Bell Supreme, I don't think that man's saliva is the worst thing for me.
I would just echo that.
Yeah.
The rat feces, the worm hairs, whatever's in there.
The disclosure
Your
that
taco your way.
Pretty sure we just lost our Taco Bell sponsorship.
But I think that you make a good point about the low wages and people working in the fast food industry and restaurant. I mean, in general, do you think you would eat in restaurants if you knew exactly what was going on? Not just fast food, but any kind of restaurant, pretty much. If you really got I think that we probably would eat it anyway, based on what we were saying earlier. But it would still make you squeamish. And but I think that the fact that we pay these people so little and the growing income inequality, but couple that with the prevalence of smartphones and people who want to get back at their disgruntled employees, they're going to take photos and post them on the web, and we're going to see more and more what's going on behind the scenes at the places that feed us.
And that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing.
To bring it all back, I think every time you want to add another layer, and this is neither good nor bad, but what I think are the facts is every time you add another layer of oversight, and every time in order to make sure that this food is better prepared and everything, and every time you propose the way to get people to stop licking taco shells is to pay them more, you're going to raise the price of what's supposed to be the thing that anyone can afford. And yes, maybe a bump from a 98-cent taco to a 99-cent taco is imperceptible, but that's the direction it'll go to, and it's just a crazy cycle that's hard to keep tabs on that might just raise the prices of things to where people can't really afford them.
Well,
So if
either
you-
that or it's a race to the bottom.
Right, for 2 extra cents, would you want a lickless taco?